everyone. Welcome to our live stream today as part of Learning at Work Week. My name's May and I'm the Business Development Officer in the Faculty of Computing Engineering and Media at Montfort University. Please feel free to drop your comments, say hello, tell us where you're watching from in the comments section. So we'd love to hear where you are today. So we're here to talk about cybersecurity and AI specifically, and the benefits of continual professional development. So some of the things, you'll already know all this, I'm sure, but just to remind you, some of the benefits of continuous learning is that you will be upskilling staff to build confidence in their roles, keeping up to date with relevant and information and enhancing the reputation of your business, particularly in something as important as cybersecurity and AI. We'll be hearing from our academic team, who I'll introduce shortly as well in a moment. It gives employees personal and professional development opportunities. There are benefits to your organisation, promoting learning culture and increasing productivity. And investing in staff obviously increases motivation and well-being, which aids better staff retention as well. Not least, there'll be opportunities to network and meet like-minded people for knowledge exchange and best practice as well. So that's just some of the benefits of continual professional development. So today I'm really excited to be joined by a couple of our academics as well, who will meet shortly. In particular, we're going to be talking about cybersecurity training opportunities. So some of the different options for training that we have are our cybersecurity master's program. So there is an opportunity to join our master's students to learn 1 week modules. So here are some of the examples that you might be interested in, such as cyber engineering, network security, pen testing and incident response. So this would be a 1 week course, Monday to Friday on our campus, and it would involve quite an immersive deep dive into any one of these topics. If you don't already have formal training in these areas. So do ask me about these at the end, and we can always tell you a bit more detail about those. We've got our academic here today, Richard, who will be telling us a bit more about red versus blue team training. So this is an immersive cyber warfare training environment. So it's a tabletop exercise, giving delegates opportunity to practice being part of the red team attacking or the blue team defending a cyber security threat. So we do have professional red teamers available as well, which Richard can tell you more about. And typically this would be a 1-day course, but it can be up to 3 days for a more immersive experience. Another tabletop training exercise we've got is SCIPS, which is short for Simulated Critical Infrastructure Protection Scenarios. So this again is an interactive tabletop exercise, and it reflects on the defensive capabilities and cybersecurity investment strategy. So working your way through a simulated attack, it's a gamified exercise. So it's really sort of makes you think about what you need as an organisation to fend off an attack. This again is a 1-day exercise, and it can be delivered in person, remotely, or at your organisation. We also have a couple of AI courses. So one of these is the Masterclass in Artificial Intelligence. So what this course covers, it's a 1-day course, or it can be offered as 2 half days. And again, it's delivered at DMU, at Montfort University campus. So what this course covers is demystifying what is and isn't AI, understanding the origins of AI tools to clarify why they work as they do, understanding the limitations and risks of these tools, understanding the criteria to consider when sourcing using and applying AI-based tools, and contextualizing the responsible use of AI tools in terms of risk, reliability, and regulation. So this is for everyone from non-technical managers, SME owners, team leaders, and freelancers, consultants as well. Another more immersive AI course we have is AI Tools, Effective and Responsible Use. Now, this is offered as a 4-day course running from Monday to Thursday, around 6 hours a day. So it can be part online, part face-to-face, on campus. And what this course covers is, again, understanding the basic principles and capabilities of AI, how to apply AI tools effectively for data analysis, content generation, automation, and decision-making, identifying ethical considerations and biases in AI-generated content, implementing responsible AI practices, and evaluating AI outputs for accuracy and reliability. So it's for anybody, technical or non-technical professionals, looking to obtain a foundational understanding of AI across industry, learning how AI can be ethically and successfully implemented in your organisation, and other AI practices, including AI data privacy and security. So why would you choose DMU to train in cybersecurity and AI? Well, you may or may not know that Montfort University is a gold standard academic centre of excellence in cybersecurity education, as named by the NCSC. So we are only one of 10 in England universities who hold this gold standard award. You would have opportunity to learn from and engage with our cybersecurity academic experts on courses that are developed alongside our industrial advisory group. DMU is also highly supportive of lifelong learning, offering flexible learning opportunities and networking opportunities with our students, staff, and other businesses that we partner with as well. So now I'm going to hand over to Dr. Richard Smith. Hi, Richard.
Hi, mate. Thank you very much. Yes, it's my pleasure to be here this afternoon to talk to you all. I am Dr. Richard Smith. I'm an Associate Professor of Cybersecurity here at Montfort University. And just a little bit about myself, I've been researching now in the area of industrial control system security for the past 12 years. So a lot of the CPD that I'm going to be talking about in the cybersecurity area has been directly influenced by some of that research and our work with organizations such as the NCSC and others. Okay, so just to start with, I want to talk about red versus blue exercises. Now, for those that aren't quite aware of some of the terminology, essentially what we're talking about here are exercises whereby we run through the full attack life cycle of a targeted campaign. Now, the red team are always the attackers and the blue team are always the defenders. What we do have, however, is obviously the ability to allow participants to pick and choose. So I know May said, for example, we have professional red teamers and pen testers that we can access, but also we can give you the opportunity to take part as part of a red team to see what life is like on the other side. So sometimes actually getting that different sort of mindset can be incredibly invaluable to an organization. So you know what an attacker might be able to see from your organization and what sort of tools and techniques they might be able to employ. Now, our red versus blue exercises take place mainly here at our cybersecurity labs at DMU, where we do have dedicated facilities, including our Research Security Operations Centre. Now, in there, obviously, we've got lots of very high-end technical equipment, as you expect, but also we have things like 3 of our walls are giant whiteboards. So lots of information sharing and discussion can take place, because these exercises aren't necessarily just about the technical side. There's also a very big human factors element going on as well. What do the exercises themselves look like? Well, at DMU, what we've done is we have developed what is called a hybrid cyber range. Now, that means that we can create very large networks that have a mixture of real physical equipment, but also virtualized machines. What that means for the participant is that we can create really immersive scenarios that have large numbers of devices in them. There's real traffic actually being generated on the network, so it makes it that little bit more challenging for the people taking part. But it also allows us to provide a bit of context in there and introduce elements such as business considerations, what can be taken down, what can't be taken down. When we talk about physical devices being plugged in and virtualized, obviously it means that we have a range of Windows and Linux devices that we use. Again, this is something that can be tailored depending on the scenario. But what we try and do is, essentially, you may well be familiar with the idea of capture the flag, where you have often a single objective, or you have a couple of flags based around a single box or a very small number of boxes. But with our exercises, we actually increase the scale, and that increases the complexity, it increases the realism, and it allows us to actually introduce this more pressured situation. So when we have a live red team taking part, there isn't necessarily a fully defined script. So actually, the people taking part in the blue team are going to be reacting to what the red team does. And as they progress further and further through the network and getting towards acting upon the end objectives, that pressure really can ramp up. Now, one of the things that we like to do is actually include some physical element in the room with the blue team. So here at DMU, for example, we have a robotic arm that, in its standard operation, it simply moves boxes from one place to another. However, if the red team is able to get through to that device and actually upload malicious control software, it'll start spinning around and perhaps knocking boxes everywhere. Or we've got an assembly line where everything works nice and smoothly and in sync. But when the malicious software, or in this case, control logic is uploaded, everything suddenly starts to go wrong. Regardless of whether you use any physical equipment like this in your organizations, knowing that there is something sat in the corner that might go very, very wrong if you're not on the ball really does add to the pressure and the realism, and it allows us to better understand how the participants work together and where we can try and provide benefit. So what are we ultimately expecting or hoping for the participants to do? Well, they're going to be using a suite of open source tools for analyzing both network and host-based data. What we're trying to do is we're trying to improve the critical thinking of our participants. So rather than relying on a particular tool or, vendors promise that this will solve all of your problems, it's actually sort of building in the learning for the participants that, oh, this is the situation, what might be happening, what can I do, what are my options? And obviously, ultimately, because they are going to be reacting to what the red team is doing, we can see about possible mechanisms and approaches that can help to remediate the attack. One of the sometimes issues with red versus blue exercises is that the red team can sometimes get rather carried away, because that's the nature of the people who tend to take part in these. So actually what we do at DMU with our red versus blue exercises is we split the events down into discrete elements of the attack life cycle, and within a single element we might have the red team perform the same or similar task, but in multiple different ways. So some might be very easy to detect, some might be incredibly difficult. What we can do is we can tailor both the network, the tools, and the red team actions to actually best fit the needs of the people that we have taking part. One of the great benefits that you will see taking part in these isn't just about the technical aspects. So absolutely, this training will allow participants to do some highly technical things, and they will learn a lot of technical aspects. But actually, there's also a lot around the human factors and how people work together. So, for example, the communication, team working, sharing of information that goes on. In previous events, we have had professional incident responders from the UK military who, for example, one person was doing a task whereby they were scanning their own internal network to make sure the network map was actually current and up to date and correct, because you can't always trust network maps. Somebody else who was doing threat hunting then announced to the entire room that they'd found that the red team had already compromised the perimeter. They were deep inside the network. In fact, they were on the same subnet as the blue team because they were performing an internal scan. Obviously, what they picked up was their own teammate doing a scan, and they simply didn't bother to communicate, even though they were sat back to back. So sometimes some of the lessons that can be best learned aren't technical, but they're about how we go about working together and improving the overall situational awareness. So sometimes people can get very laser focused. With this sort of exercise, actually what we do is we work with you to help participants understand the wider picture. So yes, what they're doing is important, and having a very deep knowledge of what they're doing is critical, but they also need to understand what others are doing, not just necessarily within the team, but also what some of the wider business issues are. How do we offer it? Well, at DMU, obviously, you may previously said we can run it from 1 to 3 days. If you want to take part, you can have it for an individual participant. So in that case, with individual participants and with smaller groups, what we would do is we would set a date and we would open it up to the wider community. So you would have people attending from various different organizations, or you can also book it for exclusive use as well. When it comes to exercises themselves, you can either use one of our existing scenarios, or we can work together with you to actually create a scenario that is going to be directly relevant and beneficial to your organization. We can cater for essentially the entire range of experience. So if you want to know a situation where you are getting a lot of support and we're working with you very, very closely to help you along the way, we can do that. If you want to turn up and simply start having a go, we can also deal with that. So that is what we offer in terms of the red versus blue. As I say, we can be very, very flexible in working with you to help meet your needs. And that brings me on to SCIPS. So SCIPS is slightly different in that this is a tabletop exercise. We do obviously, it's a web version, so we can run it anywhere. But for this, you're not necessarily getting hands-on with any of the systems that are going to be under attack. This is more looking at it from a higher level business point of view. And all of the participants will essentially take on the role of a different member of the board of a company that is currently undergoing a cyber attack because of the geopolitical situation, which is perhaps particularly relevant at this current time. And what it's been designed to do is actually to help frame the attack in the context of the business. So it's looking at how this attack is impacting the underlying business and ultimately things like its share price. What the game itself looks like is the teams are made up of up to 5 people. I mean, technically, you can have more on a single team, but there are 5 distinct roles. So really, we like to do teams of 5. And then when we've got more, we can just split them up with additional teams. And everyone takes on a different role. So what that means is that they are going to have their own goals. So they might be in charge of different budgets. They might have different responsibilities to the company to ensure that different things are taking place. But what they have to do is, through each turn, they have to decide what cyber defenses are going to be purchased or not in order to try and work their way through this cyber attack and minimize the impact on the company. Because this is representative of what is going to be happening to a business, ultimately, the share price will be impacted by the cyber attack. How much it is impacted is entirely based on the actions of the teams. What that means is, yes, the more defenses you put in place, theoretically, it might improve your share price, but there are many different factors that are actually impacting that, as I'll talk about in a future slide. But what we're trying to do is highlight that a cyber attack isn't just about cybersecurity, it impacts the entire business. I mentioned that you have to purchase defenses. Now, when we talk about costs, defenses have a cost in both money and time. We built this in because we felt it was particularly important to highlight the timeliness of security spending, essentially, because if you're trying to implement actual defenses as you are undergoing an attack, then it's probably already too late. Some of the defenses will have a significant lead time before they actually become active. And so this is something that is going to impact the decision making on when these actual defenses will be purchased. Both the time and the monetary cost are not supposed to be 100% accurate, but what they are is indicative. So essentially, they've been designed to represent the differing times that it may take to implement different things. So it might be you decide you want to implement lots of really quick things right at the start, or you might think, actually, we can put it off a little bit because we've got that extra time, and we might want to start on some of the much longer implementation choices. All of this comes back to the discussion and decision making, which is the core aspect of this particular CPD. Obviously, I've talked about money, and when it comes to budget, unfortunately, one of the core facts is that there is often not enough money to go around for cybersecurity. And in fact, in this game, you do not get a starting budget for cybersecurity. There are 3 separate budgets, but each of those is controlled by a different team member, and that budget is actually required by that team member in order for them to achieve their personal goals. What that means is that in order to purchase defences, you're going to need to decide where to take the money from. That is going to reduce the personal bonus of whichever team member has lost that budget, but it is also going to have an impact on your company's share price, because it means one other aspect of your business has not managed to fully meet its goals. So it becomes, again, it's all about the discussion, the decision making. Do you take a lot of money at the start? Do you spread it across the entire length of the engagement? Obviously, there's not necessarily going to be a right and wrong answer that I'm going to give any hints to, but it really does depend on getting that discussion started, taking on board the different stakeholders' perspectives, and working out what the best sort of approach is going to be. You won't know ultimately what the best decision is going to be right away. Because this is ultimately down to being a game, we're trying to implement as many challenges as possible. And so the ultimate goal is not to be the CEO with the lowest share price, because that means that at the end of the game, you have to stand up and resign and give your resignation speech, because sometimes you don't necessarily need to be the most secure. You just need to make sure that you aren't the least secure in your sector. Not necessarily the nicest fact, but in some ways, unfortunately, it can be true. The share price is going to fluctuate over time. So as the cyber attack progresses, it will change. The defenses that have been purchased and are active may or may not have an impact on that. What that means is that, again, there might be some defenses that get purchased, but which don't directly influence the cyber attack that the organization is facing. This isn't to try and say that any one particular choice is better than another. It's just that in some circumstances, some defenses will help with one type of attack, but they may not be of particular use in a different one. It's important that this is understood, and that, again, the discussion with the senior members of staff, it makes these things clear. Because what we're trying to do is help senior decision making in this process. How do we offer the game? Obviously, the picture shows a group of participants around a board with a tablet. We do offer the web-based version, so we can run this in person. So we can host it here at DMU, we can host it remotely at your premises, or we can have people, again, connecting in entirely remotely over the web interface. It's entirely up to you. What I will say is that quite often having a single team in a single location is one of the best ways to foster the discussion, but it certainly works in all of the others as well. When it comes to the scenarios, again, as with the red versus blue, you can either use our existing pool, or we can work with you to create a scenario that is going to be directly relevant to you and to your organization. And so I think that is me. Thank you for your attention.
Brilliant. Thank you very much to Richard for that overview of cybersecurity courses. So if anyone has any questions on that, please do pop them in the comments or stick around till the end, and we will answer any questions that you have specifically about those courses. So now I'm delighted to welcome Professor Mario Gongora, and he's here to tell us a bit more about the AI courses that we talked about earlier. So I touched upon the format of the courses and what they cover. So Mario is here to talk in a bit more detail about what these courses would cover. So over to you, Mario.
Thank you very much, May. Thank you very much for all of you to attend. Yes, so well, I'll talk about the courses we offer. My name is Mario Gongora, as May said. I have been a researcher all my academic life in applications of AI. So I work within our very large team of in our research institute of people working in all aspects of AI, from the mathematics and the algorithmics behind it to the applications. There's people in across all the range of theory to practice, the very theoretical ones, the mid-range ones. We do tests and prototyping, etc. And I'm been working in the last few years in the end of applying, so making sure that the state of the art that we develop in research is applied properly and actually helps someone. So that's what I've been doing for quite a few years now in the later part of my AI career. This is about exactly that. It's about applying AI. And one of the first things that I get asked when we discuss about AI, and also is in the news and everywhere, is will AI replace you in your job? And that question has two aspects. One of it is, well, that's the history of humanity. Society wouldn't evolve if we stayed like other animals, in which we exist all our history for as long as a species exists in the same behavior. Humans evolve their society, and that's happening all the time. So the only way that technology will have replaced a job is if we were still living in the Stone Age. I'm sure the invention of the loom in the Industrial Revolution replaced more people in proportion in their jobs that AI will do now, as well as the robotics in car manufacturing, etc. So for one side, yeah, that's natural. That's no different, and that should be not seen any differently. And that's what some of the things that we need to discuss of that. And also, actually, some of the jobs that people are doing, if AI could actually do them properly on its own, they should have been replaced. So the real reason that we need to worry, and because we need to learn about AI, is because where the risk is for us or anyone to lose their jobs to AI is by someone else that knows to do exactly the same job, but can do it better, and because they can use AI responsibly and reliably. And that's the point of learning, and that's what we want to achieve with these sort of courses that we are offering. So to start with, what is AI? And that's the first part of the course that we will do. These both courses are very similar in the structure. It's more about the focus and the depth that we will go. As May say, one course is a 1 day to do this at very high level and learn the back end of the course, that the end of the course that we will show in a few slides. And the other one is to learn a bit more detail, more technical, more actually how to apply it and how to use it, or how to actually tweak some of the tools. But the most important thing to learn is about AI, what it is. So understand the difference between a computer program, a normal computer program, and an AI program, in which basically the AI program is no more than a computer program that you don't need to predefine everything or have a mathematical model to be able to solve a solution. So if you have a Word, if you want to use a font, it has to be pre-programmed. If it doesn't have it, it doesn't have it. If you want to do a format or a function, it has to be pre-programmed, it has to be in a menu. If it doesn't have it, you cannot do it. AI is different, and that's it, but that is the only difference. So we're going to talk about how AI is defined that way. It cannot solve impossible problems. It's not about understanding why. It has nothing to do with trying to imitate human reasoning. Most of the AI research has nothing to do with human reasoning, and none of the current applied AI, including ChatGPT, and the most advanced language model, large language models have nothing to do with human reasoning and to imitate human reasoning. What we will learn is the real superpower of AI for us, for applications, which is the way to enable scalability and able to scale up your problems. So the next part that you will learn in this course, again, depending of if taking the master class or the more detailed one, is how is AI built? And people think ChatGPT is AI, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of very useful and very reliable AI based on knowledge systems. So you will learn how to embed knowledge into a program, and the advantage of using a knowledge-based AI, which is very reliable, as I said, and you know why is it doing something, how is it going to do it, etc. And then, of course, you will learn about machine learning and deep learning, which is the fashionable AI today. Very powerful. This power came at a cost, which is that it cannot be validated. It cannot be verified completely. It's impossible by nature to verify it. So you will learn why it's impossible to verify. Of course, why so powerful as well. And then understand all these principles and which is the AI that you need to use. That there is not a single bullet, a silver bullet for everything, and you have to be able to recognize which is the right tool for the right situation. That's what you will learn, and understand that no matter how complex an AI model is, it has no idea if it's wrong or right, and it has no idea what it means to be human. So in that context, the most important thing that comes to application and industry and society, etc., when you use AI for something real, for something that you want to help or produce or support the economy, etc., is that this concept of risk, and that's what we will discuss there. To understand that, because full verification is impossible, then academics worry about the performance. So how much accurate? 95.7% accurate, etc. That's the lab test that is being done. But in our case, for applications, what we need to consider is risk. So how to consider, mitigate, and prepare for errors, because it will err. Just like the saying that to human is error, well, AI also, everything fails. So how to consider, when do you need an override? How do you prepare for the errors when it fails, the consequences of the fails? And then that brings to something very important to learn and consider, and is this trail of responsibility and accountability. And of course, the governance of what happens with AI and data in the workplace and when you apply for it. All that to understand why the responsibility of the use of AI falls on you and not on the AI system. So we need to know how that is going to affect a business, who is going to be responsible for what, and for which consequences. And that is so important, because no matter how advanced AI is, it's just a tool. As I said, it's no different like the loom in the Industrial Revolution, or a robotic arm that paints cars in the car manufacturing. The AI itself has no consequence of the results, but people think it does. No one assigns consequence to the result of using a kitchen knife for cooking or for a violence act. But in AI, some people do. And it's no different, actually. It's no different in how do you use a kitchen knife as a tool or as a weapon. So education is a very important thing for protecting yourself. So not only the CPD itself for learning about AI, but also understanding that you need to educate the user So you will learn that and understand that you need to learn how to use how AI works, etc., for using it properly, and also educate the person that's going to be used, like your clients. And this will help understand that AI should be used by the person that is expert in what is using it for, and not to do something you don't know about. And that's a very critical thing in the application of AI. So learning how it works and learning how it can be used for what you know what to do properly is so important. And it should be used to scale up rather than solve problems that you don't know how to solve. And therefore, if you have any questions, then happy to answer them. Hopefully this clarifies properly how AI will, learning about AI will work for you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Mario, for that overview. We do actually have a question in the comments from Heather. Thank you, Heather. So how can you best safeguard against scam AI when working from home or otherwise? Now, in your last slide there, Mario, you did start talking about education being key in making sure that you are able to spot, able to be aware of scam AI. But I guess this also falls into cybersecurity as well, Richard, because Heather follows up with, given Marks and Spencer's issues and other retailers in the UK at the moment as well, and all that's in the news right now. So I guess there's something for kind of both of you to answer there.
Yeah, so if I can start just on the Marks and Spencer's issue, it's actually it's one of those where we need to be careful to make sure that we're not suddenly assuming that AI is behind everything, because for the Marks and Spencers and the Co-op cyber attacks, actually it wasn't AI, it was an incredibly basic attack that essentially the scammers convinced the IT help desk based in a different country to change some of the admin passwords and give them access and control over everything. So actually for that, it wasn't even anything like scam AI. In general, what I would say is always work with a dash of skepticism. If something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So maybe do just a little bit of sort of verification and double checking before you give out any details that might be used against you. So that would be my answer. There's not really a different way to protect against AI compared to a human doing the same thing.
Yes, and in terms of AI, is exactly what I was saying in the last slide. It's about understanding and education, and then understanding that you should, if the AI tool is being given to you as a tool, you should be interested in it only if it's for doing something that you already know how to do very well, exactly to that, what Richard said, to be able to verify and double check. Now, if it's something used as a scam that has been made very authentic looking with AI, that's the issue of unethical use of AI. And that's more cybersecurity, because it's just exactly that. It's looking at verify everything. In this case, it's not verifying the AI, because you can't verify it in that sense. You just verify that it's actually through a different route, verify that it is consistent. Because it's just the same as defending from a human, like Richard said.
Thank you, Mario. Yes, I think just to add to that, it just highlights the importance of continued learning as well for AI, cybersecurity, because it's very easy in the day-to-day. You know, we all get caught up and busy in business as usual work, and very easy to forget, especially when you're busy, not to verify, not to double check things that are coming into your inbox, you know, all the time. So thank you both for those answers. So another question: what's different about DMU compared with other CPD providers? So okay, Mario and Richard, I guess we also touched upon these in terms of some of the facilities that we offer and the gold standard. So yeah, would one of you like to highlight some of those USPs?
Well, in terms of the AI side, one of the important things is that we are in our university, we are in general very connected to applications, to industry, to the local community, etc. So we not only focus on the theoretical aspects and the algorithm aspects of that, but also on the consequences, the ethics, and it's very multidisciplinary. We all work together across the whole university in terms of AI. In every faculty, people are working with AI. We actually have we were the ones who have our first PVC AI officer at the university, and she and the vice chancellor have launched the AI collective, which has made the university across the whole university very AI aware. And it's about that. It's about applying it correctly, applying it reliably. For the courses, we have staff which is very well known, even at parliament level, for informing parliaments and even other countries, the whole of Africa, including about AI policy, etc. So you know, we are a hub of high stakes AI reliability and ethics.
Yeah, and from the cybersecurity side, it's very similar. Essentially, here at DMU, we've got a wide range of experts across the different cybersecurity topics that we actually bring together and work with. And actually, our both SCIPS and the Red versus Blue, we've got multiple years of experience working with industry and organizations. So we've worked closely with people like the UK military to run exercises, as well as private companies. And so by taking our research into some of these you know, special aspects, for example, the industrial control systems, having that as an element on the psychological side of things, it's not really something that's offered elsewhere. And again, bringing all of the different skills together to actually participate in a Red versus Blue exercise is one that I'm not aware of that's offered, you know, in this particular context anywhere else.
Fantastic, thank you both. We have another question from Benjamin. Do these courses have a prerequisite? As someone trying to migrate to cybersecurity from a completely different career, would these be of benefit? Richard?
So in terms of the two CPDs that I talked about, the Red versus Blue and SCIPS, there aren't any prerequisites, no. Would they be of a benefit for changing career? I would say that you would be more, you would probably be better served looking at the MSc CPD elements, or perhaps just the full MSc itself. Obviously, the CPD would give you the opportunity to participate in some of these cyber events, which in general is beneficial. But if you're wanting to do a complete career change, then I think really you would need the sort of the broader education that the MSc elements bring into it.
Absolutely, yes. So Benjamin, do feel free to connect with me directly if you want to find out more about the Masters in Cybersecurity, either individual modules, which we offer as the week-long courses, or as Richard said, perhaps the full Masters is something that you might want to consider in the longer term. Thank you very much for that question. If anyone has anything else to ask. Oh, right. Are there any case studies or success stories that you can share?
So from the cybersecurity side, in terms of our red versus blue, as I say, we've run a number of exercises across multiple years with members of the UK Army cyber response team, companies such as Airbus, Deloitte, Rolls-Royce have got involved. One of the great benefits of our hybrid cyber range is that we can actually plug in physical equipment. So if an organization has something that they want to test, we can plug it in and essentially have the red team have that as one of their main objectives. And so, as I say, a number of private organizations have actually had us conduct these wider ranging almost pen tests on devices as part of these exercises, because it gives them a much greater understanding of what the threats to a device may be.
Great, thank you, Richard. Right. If there's no other questions, I think that about brings us to a close to today's live stream. So thank you, everybody. Thank you to Richard and Mario today for telling us all about cyber and AI courses. If anybody is interested in any of those courses that we've talked about today, please do get in touch with me. So there's my details there you can connect with me on LinkedIn, or feel free to email me directly, and we can arrange to have a chat with you just to see what your requirements are and how we can support you or your organisation. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you again, Richard and Mario, and have a very good rest of the day. Thank you.